out there, Dean the General from Three of a Kind, gonna do a revised version of the Rolling Stones. Instead of ending at Beggars Banquet, we're gonna go all the way to It's Only Rock and Roll. Only studio albums, 3 EPs, and a live album will be included here, starting with the very first EP. This was all covers and is pretty good for a young band. Next came the revolutionary debut album, simply titled The Rolling Stone. In America, London Records call a similar version England's newest hitmakers. Instead of Mona, they included Not Fade Away. The British version is groundbreaking, to say the least. Up next, another EP, 5x5. This one had 2 originals along with 3 covers. All 5 are excellent. After that, a German import, Around and Around, featuring tracks mostly recorded in 1964. It is well worth tracking down if you can find it. Their second album was imaginatively titled Rolling Stones No. 2. In America, 12x5 and Rolling Stones Now featured most of the songs here. It is an inferior follow-up to the magnificent debut, however it is still worth owning, especially for completists. A final EP was released in 1965, Got Live If You Want It. This one contained 4 covers, and nothing here is all that interesting, although still good to have. The follow-up to number 2, Out of Our Heads, is a mixture of really good originals and some covers. In North America, there was a version that replaced a few songs with hits, while the rest appeared on December's Children later in 1965. Aftermath was a triumphant artistic statement that is arguably the greatest until Let It Bleed. Between the Buttons was the final production by their manager, Andrew Loog Oldham. It is almost up to par with Aftermath. Next came their most controversial record of the 60s, probably ever, their Satanic Majesties Request, a first-rate oddity if there ever was one. The days were numbered for Brian Jones on Beggars Banquet, which is mostly acoustic and features Keith Richards doing most of the guitar parts, although Jones is still on most of the tracks here. It is a return to form, although really not much better than Satanic Majesties. Their final studio album with Decca appeared late in 1969. Let It Bleed is another incredible album. It features 2 songs with Jones and another couple with his replacement, Mick Taylor. Less than a year later came Get Your Yayas Out, which has always been called a live album, but if you watch footage from Madison Square Garden, recorded late in November 1969, it's pretty obvious that Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and producer Glyn Johns added overdubs, especially guitar parts, Ian Stewart's piano, and vocal harmonies from Richard. In 1971, a new era began. Their famous Lips and Tongue logo appeared for the first time, and Rolling Stones Records was inaugurated, distributed by WEA. The first release was perhaps the greatest combination of giving fans what they wanted while at the same time playing the kind of music that interested them. Sticky Fingers was another stupendous album. The cover here is the Spanish version. Approximately 1 year later, their masterpiece came out, Exile on Main Street, double album. The majority of tracks here sound deliberately muddy and murky, but there are 3 which are up to the same sonic genius of Sticky Fingers. Their great producer, Jimmy Miller, did his last work with the band on Goat's Head Soup, which is usually criminally underrated, especially by critics. Our last selection for today is It's Only Rock and Roll, easily their most disappointing studio album up to this point. Jagger and Richards started calling themselves the Glimmer Twins. They were the producers of this album and virtually everything going forward. And Mick Taylor quit the band only a couple months after its release. Check out some other videos on Three of a Kind, which focus on mostly pop rock music. And we'll see you next time for part 2 The Ronwood years. Thanks for watching.